Holland punishes the non-believers and proves, as I mentioned on this channel, that he is not to be doubted. Hey guys, my name is Muhammad, this is Heavy Metal FPL. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and in this video I'm going to take you through a review of game week 10, and I'm going to give you some potential transfers for the upcoming game week. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. I'll start off by talking about the captaincy picks when I put up 5 options in last week's video, and now I want to revisit these. And first of all, before I talk about anything, I just want to say that all these captain choices I think were on paper really good, so I don't think you necessarily have to regret any decision that you made with any of these guys. Holland was always going to be a very good pick when he was coming up against Maguire from Man United, and he came up with the goods, 2 goals and an assist. He was the best pick out of the bunch over here. He was my 5th choice because the others had much better fixtures. Like Salah was playing against Nottingham Forest, he got a goal against them in the last minutes of that match, so he was also really good. I think I would have regretted it much more if, for example, I had picked Holland and he didn't do anything whereas Salah did. That I think would have been on paper a worse decision, at least in my head. So that's how I'm rationalizing it to myself. Watkins, I think you're extremely unlucky, and I think in this case I was very lucky because he didn't get any points out of their 3-1 match against Luton. But I think you were very unlucky if you didn't, if you had him in your team, and especially if you captained him. He blanked this week. He could have easily gotten a goal, especially like that last goal was an own goal, which Diaby got the assist for. If the defender doesn't touch it there, then it goes to Watkins and he gets a goal for it anyway. Son ticking along as usual, and Saka, he got an assist against Sheffield United off a corner which he took, and the goalkeeper fumbled, and I can't remember who it was that basically scored it. I think it was Vieira who might have scored that fumbled ball, but Saka got the assist nevertheless. In that match he was playing a little bit far away from goal. He wasn't involved in a lot of the chance making. Martinelli was more involved in there, even though he didn't get a lot of points himself, but Martinelli was closer to the goal, or at least giving a lot of chances that could have been assists. Saka worries me a little bit over there because 5-0 and him not getting a single return, I mean, it doesn't bode so well for those people who have him, and for those people who are looking to try and get him in, maybe instead of the Tottenham assets, or like upgrading someone else from their team to try and get Saka in. He still got an assist though, so nothing really, like, not so much to complain with over there. But I am thinking twice now about getting him into my team because the Arsenal team seems to have a lot of different players who can score, and perhaps you can find your value elsewhere within that team. So I want to talk about how my team did basically during this game week. There's a couple of things to note over here. First of all, Tsimikas getting that clean sheet. That was a transfer that I opted for before the game week deadline. I was thinking of removing Udogie and putting in Gabriel, but then I decided on going with Tsimikas instead, just because he's in that backline for Liverpool, who have all these good fixtures and they're also in good form. So it turned out to be a good decision as of now. He got 2 returns in the last 2 weeks, and this week he also got a return. He got a clean sheet with 6 points there. So he's not so as far for, like, he's not very involved with the Liverpool attack. You can see a lot of passes happening before he touches the ball and them scoring, but still at that, like, him being a budget pick, I think he's only at like 4.5 million. He's a very good pick right now if you want to get into that Liverpool defense. The other option, of course, is there's the other options like Van Dijk, and there's Alexander-Arnold, who's very expensive. If you want to opt for something cheaper, while Robertson is out, and he's out for a very long time, I think he's out until January, Tsimikas is a very good shout. So I got him in. I opted against selling Son, and I opted against selling Alvarez because I was thinking of selling both of those guys because I was really worried about Watkins' fixture against Luton. Thankfully, I got lucky there that Watkins didn't do anything, and Son did something. He got 10 points over here with their match against Crystal Palace away. So sometimes it just goes to show that whenever you're thinking about selling your good assets to people who might be in form, or someone like Son, maybe it's better to just let things simmer a little bit, even if you do have 2 transfers on the market. I was always talking about Son being a sideways move to Saka if I was to move him, and I always felt really bad about potentially removing him, even if it was to fund getting Watkins into my team. Alvarez was also another one who would have been a sacrifice for that move. he didn't get a return in this, but I still think he's a very good shout to have in your team at the moment, especially because Man City are playing against Bournemouth next. A very good fixture at home where he could potentially haul. And Alvarez in general is a very, very good pick while De Bruyne is out because he seems to be stapled, knock on wood, in that Pep lineup as of now. Another thing, I think where I was unlucky was just with Neto. So he got 5 points for me. So thankfully he got me a return, but then he got injured and he seems to be injured for quite a while. The reports are saying he might be out up until game week 15 or 16. So he's someone that I'm looking to transfer out as of now. I'll get to that in a bit, but he's someone I definitely, I've got 2 transfers in the bank as of the moment, and Neto is definitely going to be my first transfer out. Trippier stopped his streak of getting many returns at the upcoming in the last few weeks, and he got 0 points up against Wolves. He got a yellow card and he conceded 2 goals, so ended up with nothing over here. Trippier is a bit tricky for me because their next fixture is up against Arsenal. We saw how they struggled against them last season. This could potentially be another one of those matches. So it might be a bit of a risk, but I'm thinking of benching Trippier next game week and putting in someone like Taylor, who has an easier fixture. I believe Taylor plays at home against Crystal Palace. But again, this is a very, very risky move. So because a player like Trippier can return in any game week. He's very good. He's essential to the way that Newcastle play. He goes forward and he's on set pieces. So I'm still contemplating that decision. I don't know if I really want to sub him off for someone like Taylor who plays for Burnley, but I'm going to have to see what I think about the Arsenal fixture and what I think about Newcastle's odds and how well they might do. Because I could see them play a little bit more defensively than usual. Trippier might not be as advanced as he usually is in games, but I think he'll still be taking corners. So if they do well, he might be on the end of something. That's something for me to contemplate. Is it Trippier or is it going to be Taylor who starts in the next game week for that hard fixture that Newcastle have up against Arsenal? Diaby, I stuck with him. He didn't return in the last 2 game weeks when I had him, after I brought him in on my wild card, and my patience paid off. He got 13 points, he got a goal, and he got an assist. Well taken. And thankfully, he turned out to be the right Aston Villa asset to own during this game week. Cash, I got very lucky with, because I think if you own Dina, you might have been on the other end of the stick there. But Aston Villa lost their clean sheet in the last 5 minutes of the match, and right before that, Cash was taken off. He was subbed. So I got a bit lucky over there, and I'm going to be very, very thankful for that. Salah getting the points, as I mentioned earlier, at the last minutes of their match against Nottingham Forest. And thankfully, the blushes for not trusting Haaland are not very, very big, because Salah got me 1 goal, and the damage could have been much worse if he had blanked in that match. So as I mentioned earlier, Pedro Neto is the player that I want to take off before the upcoming game week. I've got 2 transfers, and this is the first one. It's a guaranteed that it's going to happen. He's injured for a while, and I've got so many choices over here, so many choices to replace him with. First one is Hee-chan, the Korean guy, as Guardiola aptly called him. He scored a goal in his last match, and that was with Pedro Neto off. So a bit of a doubt for me with Hee-chan is that Pedro Neto is Wolves' creative force. He's behind a lot of their attacks. He's a very skillful player. With him being off, I wonder how effective Hee-chan is still going to be as an FPL asset. He's 5.5 million. He'll be from the same team, and I'll spare 0.2 million over there. But that being said, Pedro Neto was out when Hee-chan scored his goal against Newcastle in the last match. Wolves play, I believe their next match is up against Everton. They're going to be away against, let me double. No, Wolves' next fixture is against Sheffield United. That's even easier. So they play against Sheffield United away. Hee-chan, very, very good fixture for them there. I mean, we saw how they got mauled against Arsenal just last week, and Sheffield United have a very, very bad record in the Premier League this season. They are bottom of the table at the moment, which makes Hee-chan more of a good prospect. Another one for me is Adingra, who is on for Brighton right now while March is injured. So March has been injured for a while. Adingra comes in for him. He's only 5.0 million. He plays for that Brighton attack. My problem with Brighton is that there's so many different sources who could potentially score for them. They've got Ansu Fati, they've got Enciso, they've got Joao Pedro, they've got Ferguson, and they've got Mitoma, obviously. And their form isn't looking very, very good right now. I mean, the fact, first of all, Adingra didn't score or return in the last two matches. He returned in the one before that. So he didn't return against that. And also, they drew 1-1 at home against Fulham, which doesn't bode very well for you if you're looking at those Brighton attacks. But Adingra is a good prospect for me because his budget, like basically because of his price, 5.0 million means I spare 0.7 million. I get that in the bank and I have that added to my 0.2 million, which I currently have now. So 0.9 million, I could use that down the line. You never know who I want to upgrade later. You know, if I want to maybe go from Diaby to Martinelli, if I want to go from Martinelli to, if I want to go from Madison to Saka, I could potentially fund that with an extra 0.9 million in the bank. So, and Brighton's fixtures are very, very good in the short and medium term, and March is gone for quite a while. So, Adingra, at least as far as we know, he is going to be starting. He's nailed on in that Brighton lineup. They're a good attacking team, so hopefully the returns will come soon for them. He's one I'm eyeing. Gordon, obviously for Newcastle, very, very good shout. You don't have to worry about him starting or not starting, but you do have to worry about Newcastle's fixtures. They're I think, taking a turn for the worse at the moment. They have a very hard one now, playing against Arsenal, and soon after that, you know, it gets a bit easier, but still not as good as they were a few weeks ago. Gordon is someone I'm eyeing, and he'll be a like-for-like replacement at 5.7 million. Palmer, another option from Chelsea, 5.0 million. He'll also enable me just like how Adingra would, but I don't like how Chelsea look like right now. They just lost 2-0 against Brentford. And I have a bad history with Chelsea players. Like, no matter who I get from them, they never ever end up giving me the points that I want. So whether it's Sterling, whether it's Chilwell, whether it's Reece James back in the past, those guys have always just I just never managed to get them whenever they score. So I think, you know, part of my brain is just telling me, don't go with the Chelsea players. You've been deceived before. Do not get deceived again. Palmer is on penalties for Chelsea, and they play against Spurs in the upcoming match. I'll say one thing about them though, and is that in the last match, I mean, I watched the highlights for them against Brentford, and they could have scored a lot of goals. But that's something that we've said about them so many times this season. Chelsea, you know, they come close. They look like they might score. Oh, if the match had gone a different way, maybe things would have been better for them. But it's too much of a risk for me at this point with the form that they're in, and the fact that they play against Tottenham, who's one of the best teams in the Premier League at the moment. Last shout is for Douglas Luiz for Aston Villa. Their fixtures continue to be good. I'm going to see, give me 1 second just to see who they play against next. Nottingham Forest away. So maybe not the easiest fixture, but Douglas Luiz is on set pieces and he's on penalties for Aston Villa, which makes him a good shout. He's been getting the returns. People have been getting him in, and he's been increasing in price. So he's a good shout, especially for me. I mean, I'm not eyeing getting Watkins into my team very soon, though I might get punished for that, but maybe having him and Diaby and Cash might make up for that somehow. Douglas Luiz at 5.6 million. These are all the options that I'm considering for now. So many different ways that I could go about replacing Pedro Neto. I am trying to also keep an eye on upcoming fixtures, and I'm trying to keep an eye on the long term as well as just the upcoming game week, because I think in the upcoming game week I'm not so sure about wanting to get a second transfer in, because I feel like my team, just the way it is right now and with the games that they have coming up, looks very good. Down the line, though, I am considering getting Arsenal assets, though I'm not sure which one. Nketiah got a hat trick in the last match, so he's on my eye. He's on my eyesight. Also, Martinelli is in my eyesight because he's looking very, very good. Even though he didn't score in the last match and he didn't get a return, but he's still looking very, very good. Saka is obviously there. He did get subbed off early, and Arsenal could score from anywhere. But yeah, I'm eyeing those guys. I'm eyeing West Ham. I'm eyeing things things down the line, but as of now, I can't see a second transfer in sight. So for now, I'm just gonna have to stick with, Pedro Neto, and I think the best option out of these, at least for me, as of the moment, is the first two over there. It's either Hee-chan, as a like for like Wolves replacement, or a Dingra for Brighton, to give me the funds that I might need in the future. That covers me for this game week, guys. I hope you liked this video and I hope it benefited you somehow. You got some ideas maybe from those transfer options. If you like what I do, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. And for now, I'm gonna bounce and I will see you all later.